Hey Tim.
There we go.
I had to switch it up. There we go. Now we're matching. We're Hat Brothers.
Perfect.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Spotters Podcast. My guest tonight's traveled to 61 countries, 7 continents, and has captured everything from air shows to Antarctica. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Oscar.
How you doing tonight?
Good, amazing. Just got back from a round of golf in the simulator. Hit well, so we're feeling good.
Oh yeah. Hole one?
No, a few cars, 80 on Pebble, which is good, but with a 10-foot gimme, so it's a.
I don't know anything about golf, so
form.
The closest thing I know to golf is I would drive golf carts back from a small golf course here in Miami back to the barn. So that's what I know about. That's what I know about golf.
That's great.
Also, I had a hand-me-down set of clubs for like kids. I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
None of them fit me, and I didn't know how to properly swing. And I was playing hockey at one point, so all I knew is how to swing like Happy Gilmore.
That's fine.
I could make it go straight for about, I don't know, man, until it disappeared. But if I tried properly to play golf, it would slice to the right or slice to the left.
In real,
so
I'm not good.
I never learned.
I just like to have fun.
I mean, I could probably do putt-putt, but
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah. All right, dude. So we were talking a little bit offline. Like I said in the intro, man, you've been shooting everything. You had said that you've done portraits and weddings. I've seen some air shows. You got rocket photography. You worked in Disney for a little bit, in Disney Springs. You're from Orlando, and you got a bunch of theme park photos.
Yeah.
I mean, you and Jacob, a previous guest, had done some theme park photos, and I'm only thinking, man, I just don't want to have to lug around a tripod and a camera, and I want to go on the rides. So
it's a lot. Yeah, I'm sweating a lot when I'm carrying all my gear because I'm carrying every single lap. Yeah, I'm gonna get calls. I get calls all day. Yeah, man. I was for theme parks, especially for Animal Kingdom. I'm carrying around my big lens with my D500, and I'm on the safari, jumping all over the place, trying to nail any shot I can for the animals. By carrying around the tripods for the fireworks, it's a lot of gear. But it's one of my favorite things because I live right here. Obviously, I'm an annual pass holder, so I'm in the parks as much as I can. I love going on rainy days when it's not busy at all, and I love going on the very crowded days, which obviously show the brunt of what tourism is like in Orlando.
Animal Kingdom, you said you're doing safari, so you're in a truck, and I've never been to Animal Kingdom for the safari, so.
Yeah, so it's amazing. As soon as you walk in, there's already birds. There's a bird show. There's everything from hippos to everything you could find on a safari. All the giraffes, zebras, elephants. It's amazing. Then there's a tiger enclosure. There's like a petting zoo in the back. There's a lot of great rides. A lot of shade. Makes it really nice. But the safari, if I can remember, it's like the safari, the amount of land that's there is almost the equivalent to the size of Magic Kingdom, which is their main theme park.
Wow. Yeah, it's awesome. I've never even thought about that, going there. I guess it's cheaper to go to Africa for safari.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What other... So, I mean, I don't expect you to list your 61 countries that you've traveled to. Let's talk about your most recent one. You went to Antarctica.
Yeah.
Now, if no one's following Tim, you need to go follow him because his outfit for capturing penguins, man, stellar.
Oh yeah, I love my colors. I love pink. It's one of my favorites. I got my pink Columbia, my pink pants. Every single expedition guide always knew where I was. Let's just say that I was never blending in with the snow. They could always find me. But yeah, man, that trip was number one for me out of every country I've been to. So of the 61 countries, all 50 states, and 7 continents officially. It was in my family's plan to do the 7th continent for a long time. I've done most countries in Europe, nothing compared to Antarctica. And I think it was the fact that your brain really can't comprehend where you are. So that whole time where you have no idea what to expect. And a lot of people just think it's ice, more ice, maybe the occasional whale, which I probably had well over 30-something humpback whale spottings. Orcas were really far out. I couldn't really capture them. Plenty of penguins, hundreds of thousands of penguins is what it seems like. And when I really thought I had enough penguin pictures, I kept shooting them. I had well over probably 2,000 or 3,000 of my photos were just the penguins. It's funny because they all have personalities. It's so cool to see. They're fending off their nests because what they do, I won't get into the whole penguin world, but when they're nesting, they're basically when they walk down the Penguin Highway, they call it, from like sometimes the top of a mountain or top of a major hill. Um, and they'll go all the way down to the beach, pick up a single pebble, and walk all the way back up. It's a all day process, and they're doing that for their nests. And while they're gone, the male or the female, depending, will be the one to lay on the eggs, protect, but also defend the nest, because the people next to the penguins next to them will steal the rocks from them. So it's literally a stealing game. It's like constantly bringing up a rock just to be stolen. So it's really cool to see, man. But I was on an expedition cruise for Seabourn. The cruise line is and it was a expedition cruise, meaning that we were able to leave the ship and get onto the ice. Many many cruise lines that go down there are just for viewing, and they don't allow you to step on the ice. So you need like an actual team to guide you. So you get on the Zodiacs every day. I think we had about 4 or 5 days where we got to get on the Zodiac. Some of them, sometimes 2 tours a day, whether it was 2 landings or even just 2 viewings. So we got onto the Zodiac and got up to within touching distance of a iceberg, for instance. Wow. Yeah, man. So that was one of my favorite trips for sure, just because it was a different world down there. Yeah, I loved it way too much. I definitely want to go back. It's funny. I joked with my parents. I was like, I'm willing to drop everything in my life to go be an expedition photographer.
Oh, yeah.
Because I lived on that deck of that cruise more than the expedition team. Obviously, they're in it a few months out of the year. They get enough of it. They're there for the guests to guide them and help them and guide for pictures. There's a lot of photographers on that cruise. But I was sometimes on the deck for 8 hours a day, if not more, just looking and waiting for all the birds passing by, birds that we'll never see up here in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
So, man, yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that.
Now, I saw your story when you were down there. Is there a reason why you couldn't get down lower to get a good head-on shot for these penguins?
Yeah, so it's actually in their rules. So they give us specific boots to wear, because apparently the bird flu is very bad, tracking the diseases from down there to bring them back to your country. So like you have to go through a whole sanitation process as soon as you get back on the ship. They don't allow you, because once you get back on the ship, you're only sanitizing basically your boots. Like there's a whole like shower. They get to shower down your boots. You have to wear waterproof pants, which I had my really crazy color Columbia ones that I had, always going down. There's plenty of times where the snow is so deep that I would fall up to my hips. I'm 6'3", so I would go down 2 feet plus up to my. There's nothing I could do about not laying down, in air quotes, because I would fall. So many of us would fall because we're doing up steep inclines for a hike that would be sometimes, I don't know the exact elevation, maybe like 600 to 1,000 foot elevation that we're hiking. Most of the times of the expeditions, we get about anywhere from about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to explore most of the time. And you have to transition groups. You can only do so many people on the ice at a time. The amount of times I wanted to lay down and go prone for hours on end to get the best shots for those penguins, I just couldn't do it. For those people that you see that do it, whether they're caught, whether they're getting in trouble or not, can't remember the specific treaty or what the entity is for Antarctica, but they don't allow it. Unless you're fully certified and know exactly what you're doing, which none of us do when we're going down there. Yeah, man, that's my biggest. I think about it all the time looking at my pictures. I got as low as I can. I would get you have a Nikon D500 as well, with the screen. I would throw it low as I can to the floor and look at the screen, but it's not the same, when you're stabilizing yourself to get the right shot. But I did the best I could.
I mean, there's photos that I've seen, man, they're just amazing. It makes me really want to go down there and capture it too.
Thank you.
What's your, I guess that would be like an extreme going down to Antarctica. What's your opposite extreme location?
To really think, when people ask me my favorite country before Antarctica, before I went, I always said Iceland. Even though that is still cold. We were in blizzard-like conditions when my family and I were in Iceland. Our first day in Antarctica was minus 40 degrees with a 60-mile-an-hour wind. Those were extreme. We couldn't get off the ship. We sacrificed one of our expedition days that day. The most extreme I've ever been in on the opposite spectrum was Ephesus and Turkey, where I think it was 123 degrees or 100, if not a little more Fahrenheit. Just exploring the ruins over there, and we would find even just a little leaf on a tree. My mom and I would try to just huddle under to get shade. But there's a lot of European countries that I've experienced insane heat waves that way. Other than that, the deserts on the West Coast for the most part, and Arizona and getting up into New Mexico and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So, okay, You kind of answered that one with your favorite country and also continent would be
Yeah.
Antarctica.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else can we kind of get into? What got you into aviation?
Growing up, I would see my mom gone all the time. She was a flight attendant for American Airlines for 30 years. She retired in 2020. My brother, he's currently a pilot in American Airlines for a little under 30 years now. But what a lot of people don't know, and I never even posted on it, maybe once a very long time ago, was my grandfather has 2 planes that he worked on hanging up in the Smithsonian, the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. One is a DC-3 for Eastern Airlines. He was an Eastern Airlines pilot. And, a Pitcairn mail wing that he basically refurbished from the ground up that was stuck in a field. It was like one of the first mail wing or the mail carriers for Eastern, stuck in a field, and it's hanging up in the Smithsonian. Years, I don't even know if it's still up there or not. It's been probably well over 6 years or more since I've been there. Other than that, man, I was growing up. So I grew up in South Florida. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale area, Weston, if you know where that is, down south. And I would, ever since as long as I can remember, my parents would take me to the air shows and the air and sea shows in Fort Lauderdale. And just hearing the roar of the jets. I'm a fair-skinned guy. I have red hair. I burn very easily. I remember being under the tent that my parents would bring out for hours on end, and just listening to all the jets go by, all the planes, all the stunts that these guys do. It was truly unbelievable. To this day, I mean, it's funny. I remember my dad would get me on Microsoft Flight Simulator like 98 or something like that. I was born in 94, so I was a baby, and or Microsoft 2000, whatever it was back then. And I would be flying these planes, just having fun, taking off from the field that's right outside Chicago, right on the water. I can't remember that.
Midway.
Yeah, and in my little Cessna, just flying around the city. I remember it still vividly. And not the most recent, the 2024 Flight Simulator, but the 2020, I believe it was. I put in well over 1,000 hours on that. So my dream ever since I was a kid was to be a pilot, which we'll get into later in the show that we talked off air, was my company that I had back in college and social media management and all that. That kind of took over for a long time. And I probably should have gotten my license while I was with the company and making good money, but I didn't. And now that I am where I am today, I do want to at least go get my private, start there, and just kind of live my life in the aviation world, because it's truly what I love.
It's an amazing world. I mean, I've been in aviation, well, I've been studying it since high school, doing aircraft maintenance.
That's awesome.
And then in college, I kind of got sidetracked and jumped into air traffic, and I've been in the air traffic organization for 19 years. Next month will be 19 years.
Good for you, man. That's something I always get into. It's crazy, a little off sidetrack, but the radio was like one of my biggest things that would scare me to go get my license, was talking to ATC for the ATC. And to this day, I know I'm going to struggle a little bit to try to get used to it, but that's so great. That's so cool that you do that.
It is. It's funny because, when I was in college, thinking about, okay, do I want to go flying? What do I want to do? I went on a few discovery flights. I had a friend that was a pilot, and we'd go out to the practice area, and we'd do like steep turns, and we do like stalls. And I'm like, man, this kind of sucks. I don't want to do steep turns every day. I'm in a Cessna. I feel like I'm going super slow.
Right.
Even though, we're doing 110 knots, which we're still pretty much going faster than what we are doing on a highway. But it just felt slow, right? So I said I didn't want to be a pilot. I'd do something else. Now, this year, I went to Sun and Fun, and I fell in love with GA, vintage airplanes, warbirds. I'm like, oh man, that'd be cool to fly like a seaplane. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
And now I have to go back to doing steep turns and stalls, and it's okay now because I know I want to do this. I mean, some people have asked me, I've gone to a few flight schools, and they're like, okay, what airline would you like to fly with? I'm like, I don't want to fly with an airline. My career is FAA.
Right.
I'm going to be in an air traffic organization until I retire. And that's fine. I love that job. I want to fly to maybe go fly. I want to basically go fly down to the Bahamas and not have to wait through TSA and do all that stuff. I just want to kind of jump in my plane and kind of go down. Now, if that plane is going to be, a Cessna on floats, or it's going to be a charter. I don't mind flying charter. I can do that. We'll see where it goes. I'm planning to start next year.
Awesome.
With flight training.
So cool.
So right around the same time you start.
Yeah, I want to start as well, man. It's coming. I gotta go. I gotta get make sure I'm cleared for medical. That's my biggest thing. Just make sure. Obviously, I'm not going to do all my research about I can't even fly. So I'm praying for the best.
Yeah, that is after COVID, I had some issues with COVID. So if I could get a flight medical, then I'm good to go.
I'm right.
But it's like, okay, well, I guess I saved myself $40,000. But yeah, so your family's been doing aviation. Have you thought about anything else besides flying, or what you've been doing with that besides capturing air shows?
Yeah, so because my mom was legacy, or I guess I'm the legacy for American Airlines, I saw the opening for flight attendant back in September. And it was funny because I saw a TikTok about it. It's like, oh, go apply. Applications are open now. They open it up, like all these airlines will open up applications for certain positions, very rare throughout the year. And for American Airlines, I don't even know if they're still open. I highly doubt it. But back in September, like September 6th, I applied literally that next day. And I went through the entire process. I got accepted. I got through my virtual interview. Got through the in-person interview in Dallas. Training started about a month and a half after that, 2 months, if not that. After Antarctica, I got back from Antarctica early December, and then my training started February 11th. And it was a 6-week intense, crazy training that they put you through. And honestly, I look back on it, and as much as I may have felt like I struggled, I think I exceeded in a lot of ways because it really teaches you a lot of discipline. You have really early mornings, really late nights, lots of tests, a lot of drills, and honestly, to see finally the behind the scenes of what a flight attendant actually is, it's intense. And it's not what people think of the glitz and glamour job of I'm just going to serve you cookies or pretzels. It's security. It's medical. You are the police and the doctor in the sky as well. A lot of pilots like to say the eyes and ears of the plane, representatives of the captain and first officer. So it's cool. So training ended. I've been flying for the last 2 months, 2.5 months. Not really figuring out if it's for me or not yet. I am based in Miami currently. I do live in Orlando. So the commute is not easy. Props to every single person out there that does commute. I know there's a flight attendant woman in my apartment complex here that she flies out of Dallas and she lives in Orlando, so she commutes, but she does have a set schedule. So she kind of knows when she needs to be there and when not. Being a flight attendant really did open my eyes to a lot of things. Obviously, in training, I didn't know if I really wanted to stay with it anyway. I just did it for fun. It wasn't like a end all goal for me, for sure, without a doubt. But to have an avenue to travel more, for sure. And that's what a lot of people want to do. They do it for the benefits. We call them senior mamas out there that have been flying for 35 years that do the minimum, which is 40 hours for American. They'll fly the minimum and just have 2.5+ weeks off, and they go travel wherever they want with their family. And they're making amazing money. That would be a goal once you hit top tier pay, obviously. But where I am as a new hire on reserve, it's very hard if you don't live at base, for sure. I got plenty of people who picked up everything from Los Angeles. They lived in Los Angeles and sold everything, sold the house, and now they're living in Miami. They're based in Miami. 21, 22-year-olds that are fresh out their bartending job are now picking up, and they sacrificed their apartment, broke their lease, and now they're living in Philly. Lots of sacrifice for sure. But the benefits, for the person, it's funny that I say this to my friends, and I'm trying to be as humble as possible about it, but I've seen the world. I've seen a lot. The benefits aren't the appealing thing to me. I think it was to try something different. And I love trying something different. But for the benefits, maybe the biggest benefit is to travel to the places I've already been with my camera. That's the biggest thing. Because I did travel most of these places with my parents. My mom being the flight attendant, having the benefits. I was very blessed that a long weekend in elementary school would turn into a quick London trip and back home. Or go to Beer Fest in Germany, or Oktoberfest rather, when I was a little older. And so I was very blessed. I had the benefits, 5. And then they call it, I don't know exactly what they call it, but it's like the death. It's like the sad death of their child because they lose their benefits at 5. It's like traveling's over for them. kind of what happened to me when I turned 25. I haven't been a lot of places since, because until I got to American. And for the last 2.5 months have been great. I mean, I've traveled really cool places for sure, down to Aruba and in South America, all across the United States already. But being in the aviation world, man, it's something I want to do for the rest of my life. And if it's not flight attendant, it could literally be anything else. And I've looked at plenty of things, going to, what's it called? Airframe and power plant school, A&P, get my A&P.
Yeah.
I've been looking at literally anything from like ramp supervisor just to go work at an airport. I want to be involved at an airport. ETC was always up there for me. It kind of made me a little nervous because it was like the radio, the whole, like I talked about already. And that's just something I grew up with, just listening to it all the time. But I know with enough repetition, obviously, if I want to be a pilot, that's something I would have to get used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm, whether the flight attendant thing is for me or not, kind of making that decision, like, like this week, next week, like if I really want to stay, it's a lot. It is a big commitment, so. But
you looked at any of the operations out of Orlando?
Yeah, big time.
Legion.
Yeah, so I don't know if I would want to be an agent, to be honest. That's something where I don't feel like getting yelled at every single flight that goes out, because I see it happen. I've seen it my whole life. I could get yelled at. I have thick skin, but to a point where it's just like, maybe not for me, not my thing. Actually, I have a few opportunities that have just come across my plate over the last just 2 months of a lot of operational jobs at MCO. And it's just a matter I just haven't taken them, or I haven't said yes or denied opportunities or interviews and whatnot. But I kind of do want to be closer to home. That's my biggest thing, is stay in Orlando. If I don't stay with American, do I really want to be a flight attendant at Southwest? Or have somewhere that has an airline that has a base in MCO. Yeah. That's something where if it happens, it happens. If it comes across my plate. But at this very moment, man, I'm trying to really focus on myself, photography, social media, and kind of just create that business more for myself. And, later in the show, I know we're going to talk about social media management, my company and whatnot, but I did a lot for other companies and not myself. So I'm looking to have that as a set goal for this year.
Yeah, that's great. Aviation, man, there's so many jobs. I know, and you would have to look at the Orange County page, whatever their job page is, to work at the airport as ramp control. Okay. FAA has a bunch of jobs. If you don't want to do air traffic, there's still tech ops. FAA has great benefits, great retirement. Pay, comes every year, so it goes up. Air traffic, you had to be under 31 to get hired.
I did see that.
And tech ops, you could be, if you have a technical background. Mechanics, it's easy to get into tech ops because you have the mechanic background already. There's office jobs, but you'll be stuck in the office.
Not really.
I don't think you're an office guy.
That's exactly what my mom. She tells me that every single day. You're not an office guy. You're not a 9-to-5 guy. So whatever that next thing, if it does come to fruition, is not in an office.
The best way I see a lot of people do is they work for an FBO and they get started that way. Yeah. Network also through there. Sure. Small airport. Orlando. You have Orlando Executive.
Yeah.
You have Sanford, not too far away. So there's places. Lakeland's down the road, maybe like an hour.
Yeah.
And you got a bunch of private strips around
there.
Not private, because there's not really much job there for private, unless you work for the county doing type of, airport ops, something. But there's aviation jobs out there like crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking, man. I think it'll be fun, at least to stay in the realm of aviation for sure.
So talk to me about this social media. How did you get started? I know you from like a vape company that you were kind of running their social media before. Right. Tell me how you got started in that.
Yeah, man. So kind of I could talk for hours on it, honestly, but to keep it long short, back in 2013, I was a freshman in college at UCF. I didn't really have a lot of friends that went there from my high school. I was kind of a little bit of a loner in my dorm room with Vine. Vine came out. I started making 6-second videos. Never really found myself as like a funny guy, but I started making like funny skits. Kind of went a little viral with like maybe 50, 60,000 followers. And then I got into the vape industry. I just picked up a vape one day and started doing smoke tricks and vape tricks and did it to music and called it Smoke Sync. That was a trend that kind of popped off. I ended up with like 100,000 something followers on Vine, always on like the trending page or whatever. I met a whole bunch of people that did stuff like that. We kind of all collaborated together and created a company called VGod. VGOD. Kind of fast forward a little bit, collectively ran a profile that gained so much traction in such little time, we didn't really know what to do. We had business partners that basically told us, what soon to be business partners, that were like, hey, your brand is huge. And we're literally just college kids that are doing vape tricks. Something so, whether it's dumb, whether it's not, it was something that was so trendy at the time. I don't vape anymore. I haven't vaped in over something years now. I quit back during COVID. But it was something that was so trendy and also very hated amongst a lot of people. A lot of people just don't like vaping and they thought tricks were dumb. Whatever. It is what it is. But it was something that was gaining us so much traction for views and likes and comments. Fast forward a little bit, those business partners were in California and Los Angeles. I moved out to Los Angeles for a few years, and we created a juice line. We had flavors, we had merch, we had devices, vape devices. We were one of the first ones to ever come out with a disposable vape. So every disposable vape you see out there in a gas station was like, we were one of the first ones, if not the first, to do it back in 2014, 15, called the Stig. So a lot of people know that name because it helped a lot of people quit cigarettes. That was the main goal, was to get people off cigarettes. And we did it in a way that gained us enough attention that we hopefully would obviously make more sales, but to get more people that smoke cigarettes off of them. So I was just one of the co-founders. I had a great team of guys. I teamed up with one of my buddies in South Florida, in Miami. Back when I was still living there, his name is Danny. He's one of my best friends nowadays. Talk every day. He's an amazing photographer, videographer as well. He lived out in LA in Huntington Beach. He was one of our contracted individuals that we paid to help promotions, and he was one of the best vape smoke trickers in the game. Him and I were like the dynamic duo. We were always in the studio filming, recording. So he got me into photography and got me my first Nikon was my D610. And because I was like, if we're going to run this brand, I want it to be as professional as possible. And I was always the frugal one. I didn't want to spend money. I didn't want to drop money on ideas. But he basically forced me into my first MacBook, my first camera, helped me out a lot. And fast forward to today, I'm still shooting Nikon. I'm doing the most I can with all my lenses and having a blast. But the way that started was this company. And so obviously we wanted to be the number one in any industry. Any industry you get in, you want to be the best. We got in it so early that's why we had so many followers we did. We breached over 700,000 subscribers on YouTube, over 550K on Instagram. Our Facebook got over 100K. We would travel to all these different countries just for expos, and we'd have hundreds, if not a few thousand people line up out of these expos in Germany. China was huge for us. These markets that were not touched yet. And UK was massive for us. And we would just be, I feel like a fake celebrity back then, because we were signing hats, we were signing shirts, and people would take pictures with us all day long. But that's what social media was back then. It was kind of like the very, very hype days of like 2016, 17, 15 when it was popping off. So I was the co-founder of the company, social media manager, became nearly the customer service manager of the company. That kind of died down. I sold my share of the company back in 2022 or 2020, if I remember. And they're still popping off today. They're doing great. They're selling in all these different countries. When I left, I think we were selling in over 100 countries in all 50 states. But what happened was the FDA was really cracking down on the products. It contains nicotine. Obviously, I got out of it because obviously a lot of kids started vaping. People were getting sick, whether that was linked to black market THC products or whatever that may be, but they were linking it to vapes. Anyway, being the social media manager for that, I gained a lot of experience. Obviously, I was managing all these accounts daily. We were posting sometimes, if I wasn't posting 6 times a day on Instagram, which is like everyone's jaw drops to that nowadays because that's an excessive amount, but that's what it took to get the brand where it was. So it was an all-day job for me. If you looked at my screen time, if I even cared back then, was probably 16 to 20 hours a day. I would wake up in the middle of the night, because back then, I don't think scheduling posts was a thing unless you were using like third-party apps. But I was posting for Indonesia market. I was posting for Germany market. I was posting on different off hours for all these different marketing pushes that we had. So obviously, that gained a lot of experience for myself. I don't have a marketing degree. I don't have I have a bachelor's degree from FAU in general studies. That's literally it. But I have over 10 years of experience running multi-million impression of these accounts, and we'd get well over 1.5 million impressions a week. I was managing all the DMs, all the emails, the comments. We had to respond to absolutely everything. And we made sure that we did that because that was our fan base. You know, these are our customers as well. So I learned a lot of customer service from that. To talk about more of the negative stuff, you know, the FDA came down, said no more posting. We were getting community strikes on YouTube. They basically treated the same as alcohol and firearms. We really couldn't post a lot anymore. What was my position used for anymore? You know, we couldn't do the professional, backtracking a little bit, the professional photography and studio photography that we had for all of our product for the website, for marketing pushes. That's where I learned a lot. And a lot of our team were photographers. A few of our members were photographers and videographers, but I was one of the more main guys that had a camera in my hand at all times and making sure all of our lifestyle pictures, you know, we were a huge lifestyle brand. Like we wanted to be relatable. We were the younger team of guys that wanted to kind of push out content, number one. Two, merchandise that was selling like crazy. We'd come out with devices, maybe 3,000 units of a single device. We'd hype it up so much that it would be sold out within an hour, if not maybe a little less. Obviously, there's so many brands that do that nowadays, but for us, with no marketing background, that was huge. And it kind of fuels your fire to want to post more, to create more. And you and I were talking a little off air that, you know, we could take 100 videos and just sometimes not even post them. Like, who has the time to edit, post? You know, it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
You know, getting in the habit of finding the routine, I think, is the number one thing. And I had a major routine with the company, and I would go to the office every single day, shoot my content. We had our entire vision board of how many videos we had to film for the month. All of our ideas were laid out. Everything was ready to go. We knew exactly what we were doing for the entire month, when we're posting and what we're creating, and every deadline, because it wasn't just kind of an informal post whenever we want to post. We had deadlines. You know, we were committed, very committed to make sure we were the number one brand. I think across all of our platforms, with all of our people, all of our affiliates, we probably had well over about 3.5 million people combined of our network. So with just of our affiliates and our fans, also customers that were posting our stuff, we had a major reach. So I've learned a lot from that, you know. And whether I find another job like that or do it more for myself, like we were talking about offline too, is that I want to do more for myself this year. And do a lot more photography for, you know, weddings, portraits, graduations. I love dealing with people. I'm a big people person. Obviously, coming from social media, I'm constantly talking all day. I was one of the faces of the YouTube, in front of the camera, behind the camera. So I was actually a very shy kid growing up, and I didn't have the qualities that I do now because the company nearly forced me, and social media nearly forced me to be in front of the camera. So that's what Vine was for me, was like kind of an outlet to like show my funny side, to show my creative side. And so, you know, if any companies, I've dealt with many companies before. And so have a few of my guys from my team, and Danny my best friend, has worked with plenty of 60 plus companies. Like we kind of bounce off each other and teach each other a lot when you have a network like that and a team. So that's helped me a lot, man. Yeah. So that was a great time in my life. That was about 10 years. So it's ever since 2022 is when I left the company. And ever since that, I worked for Disney. We were talking about at Disney Springs at the boathouse. I worked for a preparatory school, a boarding school. I've done a lot, you know, and I love tipping my feet and tipping my toes into a lot of different things because I love change. I love creating. I love trying all the new things I can get into. It's like one of my biggest qualities. That anybody that knows me knows that.
So you got 10 years experience. You've been trying to capture everything. How are you going to, how do you plan on generating like fresh ideas for yourself?
Yeah. So, dude, if anybody checks out my Instagram, which, I mean, it's just my name, Tim Miranda, I'm getting into posting a lot of content in the food world, like the food industry. I got people left and right. I had a farmer's market video that blew up from Orlando, and that reel was astronomical for me. I've never had those views on my Instagram ever. Like that was like VGOD level, you know, my company level views. And so I've had so many companies reach out to me, be like, please come film our stuff. Please come take pictures for us. Please do this. And so it's kind of funny that there's a good amount of Orlando. Obviously, Orlando's a mecca of tourism, but there's a handful of influencers that I see all the time that are doing the food reviews. I'm always seeing the same people. I want to be one of those people, and if not better. I'm trying to be the best like I can in any industry I get into. But the fresh ideas, man, you know what's crazy is that we used to look down in the industry that we were in, for the vape industry for 10 years, not looking down, but kind of like discouraging people copying one another. Inspiration and copying are two separate things in my book. Obviously, like you and I take airplane photos. We take aviation photos. Like, we're app geeks. Like, we're going to be at the same show. We're going to have many photos, especially with us having the same camera. We're going to have a lot of the same pictures. Your photos will be different from mine in a lot of ways, that we both have different editing styles. You may have different composition styles than I do. You may love to shoot wide angle with a crowd, and I love getting the vape trails off a wing. You know, we're both in that world of understanding inspiration from one another. There's plenty of aviation photographers that I nearly drool over from how great their content is. And they have some dream shots that I would love to get in my life. So kind of like looking back on fresh ideas, man, I kind of just want to do, one, what makes me happy. Two, stuff that's pretty interesting, because I like to think I'm an interesting guy, not just from what my mom says. I feel like I've done a lot. From what a lot of my friends say, I've lived 9 lives. So I feel like I have a lot to bring and show with a personality, with how I speak, and the interests that I have. So especially in Orlando where I am, I like to have this as my home base. Obviously, there's a million things to do. But the craziest thing is, I took a big social media break for a long time, like almost probably 2 years. Like, once I left my company, I just didn't want to post anymore. I was severely burnt out from posting 6 times a day.
Yeah.
But now I have a crazy inspiration. I made it a goal for myself for this year to literally take out my camera, whether it's my DSLR, my Nikon, or my simple cell phone, and record everywhere I'm going what I'm doing. It is insane to see that there's people that have blown up on TikTok and Instagram that are literally just posting their normal day, and they're getting paid for it because they have so many views and so many followers. Why can't that be me? I have the experience. Why can't that be
me?
So
it could be anyone.
What's crazy is that didn't really touch on the topic off air talking about it, but one of my favorite things to do is attach a GoPro to the top of my camera. And people love the behind the scenes. There's a really famous, I don't remember his name, on Instagram that photographs cars. I think he's from the UK, maybe overseas, if not in North America. But he has a phone attached to either his chest or his head, and he takes pictures of cars all day. And they're mostly wide angle shots, and he shows you the before, he shows you the after. But he is so massive on the platforms because people love to learn by what people like you and I having what a lot of people may seem as a very advanced camera. To us, we know there's plenty out there that's better than what we have. But I look at the D500 for Nikon as like a flagship crop sensor camera for us because it's so great with the reach it gets, the quality it has, and XYZ. We could talk forever on cameras. But I think it's awesome to see that, one, we're going to inspire a lot of people by having the equipment we have and the vision we have. So people seeing the behind the scenes, they're constantly learning that if the average person that's watching this podcast that is just starting photography at our age, I want to get into this. What can I do? And that's one of my favorite questions to answer because I love talking about it all the time. How did you get that fireworks shot for Disney? How did you take that airplane photo? What camera are you using? And when they don't learn that it's this very super expensive $6,000 camera, they're like, wow, I can do that too. So that's one of my favorite things, man. So like we were talking about as well, I want to get back to an air show. Haven't been in 2 years. I know you just did the most recent ones down in South Florida. We were talking Pensacola's coming up, or Stewart, and then Pensacola. And so I'm looking to get to those. So I'm sure you and I will link if we make our way down there.
We'll definitely link up. That is actually one good question I was going to ask you, is for those people that are getting their portfolio in, regardless if it's aviation, automotive, wildlife, food. Me personally, I started doing action sports. I did surfing and BMX. I did that for 15 years, and then I got into portraits. I did some food photography that led to corporate restaurant portraits. Headshots. I did landscaping. I've done real estate. I've done everything because I'm always wanted to learn something new.
Right, same.
I do aviation now since 2019 because I've been in aviation forever, and I'm like, okay, well, how can I grab all this experience I have and make my aviation look better?
Right.
I have action sports, motorsports, drop down the shutter speed as low as I can so it's crisp, and then translate that towards aviation so you have like streamless panning shots. I've done some weird abstract stuff, with bokeh and having blurred backgrounds with long exposure. Take that to aviation now and just try and mess around. So for those people that are getting their portfolios together, what tips do you have for those people that want to probably get paid that way on social media?
Yeah. So number one, man, and I can't stress this enough, is you need a portfolio for people to see what you do. Now, whether that's throwing it on your social media platforms, whether that's creating a website, which is what I really recommend, print yourself out a business card. You're carrying around a very expensive camera, what seems like to a lot of people, and you're like, wow, what photos are you getting? I get that all the time at the theme parks when I go, because I'm carrying this massive Canon of a lens, and I just give them my business card. Or I literally say, scan this QR code. It goes to all my social profiles. What you just said is getting and dabbling into all these different industries. That is the way to do it. Of course, there's plenty of photographers that strictly focus on, because whether they want to get paid for it or not, they might be very, very good in just wildlife photography or landscapes. I know plenty of photographers like that will never touch food or never touch landscapes. They just want to photograph birds. Like, they're the most well-known bird photographer. They'll never post anything else. For me, I like to show, like I said, I love change. I love changing it up. I love posting everything from the theme parks to aviation, to traveling, to animals, the wide range spectrum like we both do. And now food. That's one of my, obviously I love to eat. Everyone loves to eat. In that industry in Orlando, like my last few reels have done very well for just food. I want to bring that portfolio side. I do have a lot of food photos on my profile, on my website, and my portfolio, but I want to make it better. So what I really recommend, I use a website called SmugMug. I know one of my favorite rocket photographers, space photographers, John Krause, he uses SmugMug. That's where I got the inspiration from. I pay the yearly subscription of whatever it is, but that's where all my photos sit on my website. So when people want to see, like, what is your quality like? I'm not the average Canon Rebel TI 7 person camera photographer that the camera does get some good photos. You just got to really know how to edit them. But I have a very high quality that I love to bring from my years of experience shooting the aviation, everything that would get me paid, weddings, the portraits, graduations, whatever it may be. Obviously, being a people person helps when you're going to be doing those types of photos, because you're having to tell them how to pose. The average person doesn't know how to pose or put their hands, stuff like that. So getting the experience through that, you build your portfolio. So, hey, you show them literally your phone or like an album like this. Let's do photos like these. Or if you're going up to a food or a restaurant, whatever it may be, hey, I could give you this. I cannot stress it enough. Website's probably the number one thing I could say. Obviously, social media platforms, going back to being the manager of social media platforms, consistency is key. There's really no other way around it. Post every single day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes even 3 times a day if it really comes down to it, because that could be your portfolio. You could do the highlights on Instagram. You could create stories. You could create whatever you want, reels, whatever you want to do to show what you have and what you can offer.
Awesome. That's the, the long and the short of it. Be consistent, share your work, and in time, you'll get those clients.
Yeah, man. Very much preaching to the choir here, because there's times where I will go sometimes 2 weeks without posting. Sometimes I'm literally have a post up for the next 14 days straight. I think, if you're really serious about it, which I want to be and I will be, I know life happens. We have work. We have significant others. We have family, whatever it may be. There might be days where you just don't feel like posting. That's fine. But if you want to be serious about it and get the clientele, there's plenty of people that I know out there that are making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month by shooting clients, charging $3,000 for a single shoot and not even having to edit it. It's out there. You just have to do it and show your portfolio.
Yeah. Because
why would they want to pay you the $3,000, if not even more, when you don't have anything to show for it? Obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. This, I was doing, when I started food photography, I was doing like the food trucks.
Yeah.
The craze just like started back in like 2014, 2015. And me and my wife, and we went out to go see family in Nevada, and then we drove over to San Francisco because they had this huge food truck get together for Fridays or first Fridays of the month or whatever. And I thought, okay, everyone's talking about this. I'm going to go and do reviews on this, Filipino food thing. And then I was like, okay, I love food, and especially love food that I can't get anywhere else.
Right.
So I did a bunch of food blogger reviews. I had a blog, when blogging was a thing back then too. So I went from that to basically being like a corporate photographer for BurgerFi.
Wow.
And I did a few of their restaurant openings down here. Then, those guys that were part owners, they wanted me to do other stuff, and I was like, okay, I can do that.
Sick.
And just by making that portfolio got me into a travel book for South Florida. and it was being published by a company out in Hong Kong. So
Wow.
technically, I could be an international published photographer in food. No one's gonna see that,
Right.
unless it's on a webpage. Unfortunately, my webpage is social media right now, and everything on social media is, aviation.
Yeah.
No one's gonna
What's
see that little pasta dish with
and that's thing for when I say the website's your most important thing, because obviously you have galleries, you could make it in subsections, whatever it may be. Well, the thing that upsets me the most is some of my best pictures I've ever taken are by 150 plus photos that no one will really ever see, because no one scrolls down like that unless they're really trying to stalk you and trying to see all your cool. That's why I can't stress enough trying to show what you can. Always change up your front page on your website. I don't do it really. I'm not really like that I'm trying to get the clientele unless, I really, my life changes a little bit where I just want to strictly do that in freelance and whatever. I love to do it on the side. If it happens, it happens. That's kind of how I treat it at the very moment. But as I get more serious into it, which I do want to get to this year, as people get or visit my website, they're always going to see something different. I'm not just the travel photographer. I'm also, you could book me for weddings. You could book me for your graduate, you book me for a portrait, whatever it may be. I want to be that guy. I want to be completely versatile to a point where you can literally use me for anything. I've done grandma birthday parties. I've done it all, I feel like. So book me for that. But that's my goal, is to get booked for a wide range of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're going to be the portrait guy. I've done it. I won't do weddings. I won't do engagements again. That's a lot of work, man.
It's a lot of fun. If you just kind of know where to stand for the most part. Yeah. Obviously, the equipment must. Obviously, a lot of weddings, just to kind of get to that point, is it's a big team effort if you're shooting with a team. Obviously, video and photos, it's a whole ball game. It's the whole thing that I've done it mostly for friends, family, like people that know me. I don't charge an exorbitant amount like some of these guys do, a few $1,000s. If not, I'll just even do it as their wedding present. I've done a few like that. But it's a lot of work. It's not just the taking the photos, it's the editing. And people don't really understand that. A lot of companies that pay you just to go take pictures, it's not just that. When you're taking 1,000 something plus photos for a wedding, that's well over 2, 3, 4 hours of editing.
Oh yeah.
People don't really understand.
Yeah, there was that book I had to do, that travel book, they wanted the photos raw. So I had to be sure that those photos were shot exactly. Yep. They didn't need to have editing. And that's like when, aviation, I'm like, okay, I'll just go snap 1,000 photos and then I have all this time because it's my own stuff. I don't have to worry about it. But when it's a paid gig, you have to know your settings.
For sure.
Yeah.
Big time. And a lot of these people that get into photography, they just want to shoot on auto. From the day one, I was like, I need to learn my settings. I was shooting manual and I was really messing up a lot. But that made you realize what your shutter does, what your aperture does, what your ISO does. And to translate that, when we're doing aviation, they're through the clouds, they're coming through, it's super bright, you're shooting through the sun, you know exactly what to do. They're now behind a shaded cloud, it's super dark, you know exactly what to do. So that's the best part. That's like my biggest thing as photographers. If you're getting into it, shoot manual, learn your settings.
Definitely. That's the best way to end this hour-long show we just had. I mean, you and I we could probably keep on talking.
Truthful. Part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bring it on.
Let's go. Unfortunately, Instagram only allows me for an hour.
Right.
To deal with me and my my hat today. So.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for everything, man. I had a great time talking about everything, and if we ever want to do this again, I'm always here.
All right, Tim. It was truly a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we'll see each other probably in Central Florida, an air show. We'll meet up. Maybe instead of doing 7 drinks around Epcot, we'll do like 7 meals around Epcot.
Totally down for it.
All right, Tim. Have a good night.
You too, sir. I'll see you later.
All right. See ya. Thanks, everyone. Bye.